Welcome everyone to Zero Trust Journey podcast. Yes, it's a video on podcast, and my name is Victor Monga. I am the host of this podcast. Today we're going to be talking about not a new topic, zero trust. We all have heard about it, and it's one thing we're going to be covering throughout the podcast or session today is it's a journey. It's not a product. It's not something you can just achieve it overnight. So that's the idea of this informal, casual podcast where we talk about our understanding of zero trust, our understanding of zero trust journey, our understanding of this landscape, our understanding of the stories we have heard about zero trust. So before we get into the serious topic of zero trust, I do want to start with a light, fun question. I'm a coffee lover, Aaron. So do you like coffee? And if yes, tell us your favorite story, favorite beans, whatever, something about coffee.
So I worked at Starbucks when I was in high school and then through college. So I was a barista and I thought it was super cool. It still is. It's still, Starbucks is the be all end all, I guess. But I'm actually really boring. I just like to drink straight espresso. I'll have like 4 shots of it in the morning. I'm boring now. I don't do sugar or cream or anything like that. But I think that's from my days of, making so many crazy drinks and all the concoctions and crazy orders that people get whenever they come into Starbucks. So that's my coffee story. But I do live and breathe for it in the morning.
I get nervous, when I go to Starbucks and when there's someone in front of me and they're asking their order, quad shot of this, soy milk, whipped cream with a light of cinnamon and 30 other customization. I feel intimidated. I feel that I don't know how to order my coffee because all I go show up and ask, hey, can I have a cup of coffee? That's it, like just a cup of coffee. So with today we have our first guest, Erin Logue Smith. She is cyber and compliance practice leader and member at Dell. Erin has unique position to see cybersecurity. Actually, this is a really fun one. She is an attorney. She has been trained to fight legal fights and getting you out of the parking tickets. I'm kidding. But seriously, she has a unique way of looking at cybersecurity from a legal perspective. And that's why I invited her to actually talk about Zero Trust journey and the things that she has seen with her customers or the conversations she has had. With that, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited about your new podcast. We've done many sessions on cybersecurity in the past, but this is a new journey for you. So I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. All right. With that, you know what? We're talking about zero trust journey. We're talking about, yes, it is a buzzword for some, for others. It's a really great way of looking at cybersecurity. So let's start with that icebreaker. When was the first time you heard about zero trust, and what was your knee-jerk reaction to it? Or what was the first statement you heard that, okay, this is what zero trust means to you, Aaron?
So I guess I thought when I first heard zero trust for the very first time, it was just going to be another one of these buzzwords that we hear. I think that, air gap is a buzzword these days. I think that, zero trust to me is a buzzword these days. I think that cybersecurity in general has always been a little bit lacking, and especially around the legal and regulatory space, really just in more recently than not has the White House really started to take notice of cybersecurity based upon cyber warfare, and the SEC is coming out with new regulations. So I really thought zero trust was going to be like a campaign to get people really into cybersecurity, and it was kind of going to go by the wayside. But it hasn't. It is still a buzzword. I still think it intimidates people, but it's here to stay, and I think it's something we all have to embrace.
That's right. Yeah. And that's what my perception is out there. So when I'm talking to industry leaders and the practitioners, they're saying that, hey, this is a good thing. Yes, maybe vendor space has abused it to an extent that it become a little bit ugly and icky when we hear a product labeled as zero trust certified. I'm like, what is this? Did you go to FDI and get the compliance done and regulations done? No, there's no such body exist in cybersecurity who can say that yes, you farmed your produce organically. You didn't use any chemicals, hence your zero trust. There's no such thing. You can't claim a product or a vendor can just self-proclaim that. Well, I guess they can, but it's. I think it just doesn't make sense, and that's what practitioners actually struggled with. But on the other side, they're saying it's a good thing. the principles of zero trust, the model is actually something that we should be adopting because at the end of
Mhm.
the day, everything is passing through internet these days. And e-commerce, HIPAA, you name it, all of these transactions are happening over the wire, the internet, which was not supposed to be trusted to begin with. So why did we actually start using untrusted network to process our so confidential, sensitive information? And that's where I think zero trust really brings that and embodies that spirit that, hey guys, we're not going to trust anything. We're going to validate, authenticate, test every time you want to touch any of my enterprise applications data. We're going to validate who you are, where you're coming from, and if you are authorized to actually access it. And when you're talking to your customers, Dell customers or others, um, where are they on their journey? Is it a well clarified, understood concept now, or is it still to the point where I'm not sure what zero trust is?
Oh, it depends on the organization. I think that a lot of, as, time has progressed, we went from people not really understanding what, zero trust is to that's all they ask about. They don't think about incident response or, backup data and things like that. Now, they went from not caring about zero trust to only caring about zero trust. And then I think a lot of times right now, they are struggling with that. Is there a one-stop shop to implement? So I can say that I'm zero trust certified, and it's not that easy. Implementation can be difficult. It can be long. It takes a whole ecosystem, a holistic ecosystem, to really get that zero trust up and running within your organization. But I do think the other thing to really mention here is I think in the beginning, it was a lot of very large enterprises that were very interested in working with us on zero trust. And it was the smaller organizations that really are, more private, smaller companies and things like that, that thought that they didn't need zero trust, that they weren't going to be targeted. So I think that's where the journey is going, where everyone is kind of realizing that zero trust is something everyone has to learn and embrace, not just large enterprises and organizations.
Yeah. You mentioned something in there, data loss prevention, data retention, data recovery, data protection. That is part of obviously zero trust and something that people think about it, but it's not the conversation usually starts with it. Zero trust, usually the conversation starts with, I need a new product to actually go validate my transactions. I need to get more products and blinky lights to actually go see what else can I miss in my environment. I think, and if there was a way, and someone wants to take on this project, feel free to do so. I think there should be a checklist. Like, guys, here are the fundamentals. Here are the foundations. Yes, you can use and take the credit of the good work you have done in zero trust journey, but here are the fundamentals that you wanna clarify as well. You mentioned that data protection and retention and recovery and response, those things needs to be discussed upfront instead of going, we need a new product so we can claim ourselves zero trust. I think let's have a checklist of fundamentals. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And as soon as you asked me a question, there was a motorcycle that drove by and I couldn't hear you. So that's the love of having a live podcast recording, right?
Of course.
Um, but I do agree. I think that, as I said, zero trust is the thing that everyone's talking about today. And that's why we're having this podcast, because it is incredibly important. And it's, trust but verify, don't trust anybody. Let's protect our anything accessible to the internet. But the fact is someone's going to get through, and it might not be through the avenues that you're using zero trust to protect. It might be in a different capacity, in a different way. So you can't just throw all of your time and effort into zero trust, the zero trust framework, zero trust architecture, and protection of your internet of things, as we would say, IoTs. But you have to also make sure that if and when someone probably is going, you have to accept that someone's going to get in no matter what. And you have to set in an entire cybersecurity ecosystem. As you were saying, we have to have that protection in the front end. We have to, really be vigilant and try to fight those bad actors from entering our premises at all. But we also need to have that back end, that resiliency structure. We have to make sure we're backing up. We have to make sure that we have plans in place for whenever that 0-day event could occur, and probably will. So we have to have the incident response plan. We have to have your cyber resiliency strategy. We have to have all of these pieces working collectively in that, cybersecurity ecosystem from soup to nuts. So zero trust is just one piece and it's a huge piece, but we have to protect everything.
Yeah, and again, to my earlier point, we can claim all of that good work under the umbrella of zero trust, and that's okay. That's acceptable. I can get behind it. I just want to make sure we don't ignore the fundamentals and just run the next blinky light.
I agree.
People who have started this journey early on, I have seen and heard and read a lot of success stories. I've also seen and heard and read a lot of failures. And it's not a fault of a person or a program. It's just that either it was not set right or it was not course corrected. But the success stories are also a good demonstration and a proof that people who embark this journey, they can continue layering on top of it. It actually helps the business. It actually helps the organization reduce the overall risk. And that's really the ultimate goal here. That if you have a framework program that you're following as a journey, then you're continuing to get better from yesterday. That's reducing the risk is what we are really after. And you must have talked to different people, different customers, different organizations. Any success or bad story about zero trust journey that you want to share with our audience?
So I think the main one that I'm going to share that is a lesson learned, I think, for everybody is, when we started to really have these zero trust conversations very early on, we actually worked with the U.S. Department of Defense, the DoD. They, reached out to us at Dell. They wanted to collaborate on how to protect their own government systems. So we kind of got baptized by fire. And this is something I am allowed to speak about. We have a lot of NDAs that we can't talk about. This is pretty public information that we got together with the DoD. We wanted to really, as you said before, there's no one-stop shop. Like you can't just sell one product and say you're zero trust certified. The implementation of multiple products, multiple partners, multiple architectural solutions within environments that the DoD supports across the country for different avenues of government, like the Treasury and things like that. So we had to really come up with a comprehensive solution based upon our partner ecosystem here at Dell and what we offer from a technology perspective. But the difficulties that we had with them was really making sure that we had the integration complete. We had to, lack of talent. We had to train people on what zero trust was. We had to train people on how to build out all of these, zero trust solutions. And at the end of the day, we actually came up with, it's called Project Fort Zero. So now we have this baseline of working through things with the DoD, like getting their legacy systems up, up to par that, weren't really thought about or built for zero trust. Training people, and even just retaining cybersecurity professionals that can work at that level. But we took this journey that we went on with the DoD as, our first real step and foray into zero trust, which we've worked with, many people, many customers on. But we built this Project Fort Zero and have really built out a framework that is industry standard for government entities. So it is government certified to meet those DoD requirements for zero trust. So it's not a one-stop shop, but the growing pains was learning how to really encompass everyone around you. You don't have to. Any organization has to realize that they don't have to do it alone. They can reach out to people here at Dell Technologies like me or anyone. There's a lot of other vendors that can really help you. And, there's always going to have to be multiple partners and people involved to really get you into that full scale zero trust framework.
Takes a village and all that.
Mm.
I think that's the key. I think when people are starting their zero trust journey and it can be intimidating that where do I start? There's so much out there. At the same time, the forefathers who coined the terms actually try to provide their as much as clarity they can. But again, there's a lot of noise as well around it. And someone who is starting their journey on zero trust, sometimes it can be seen overwhelming. So to your point, go back to basics, fundamentals, and choose the partners that you trust and continue having a conversation with them that this is what you want to embark your journey or mature your journey. Where do I go from here? What is my next steps? And continue that journey. And again, this is not a game. I'm gonna keep stressing on this one every episode we record this. This is not a blinky box. If someone sells you a blinky box that here is zero trust, run fast, away, far, whatever you want to do. Run over.
So it's the checkbook.
I know, right? Uh, so the zero trust market is also evolving, and a lot of the analysts are also looking at that, how that's going to become. So platform consolidation is happening. I promised my marketing team I will not use this term, but I'm going to. AI is happening. Uh, so between AI and platform consolidation, there's this zero trust concept, the program that people are adding to their security program. So what do you see in the trends in the industry that will lead to either as a tipping point where people are using zero trust program as part of their organization bare minimum, or it can become like, okay, this is going to be the threshold. If you meet this, then you should embark, or otherwise it just doesn't make sense for you. Like something what CMFC tried and people are still struggling with it. Is it going to be one of those, or is it going to be something that people are really adopting it because it just makes sense? The tactical program is not a compliance program.
Yeah. So my thoughts.
Yeah, loaded question. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking through it. I think my thoughts really are people. So we have the NIST cybersecurity framework. We all know and love. Anyone who's been working in cybersecurity for the past, how as long as my career has been, as long as I have been working in this space, which has been, 14 years now. NIST cybersecurity framework has been the be all end all, one of the number one highly recommended cybersecurity frameworks that, we've always, we at Dell use it. Before I came to Dell, I worked for a large US bank. We use this as our standard there. And it was actually very surprising to me when I came to Dell that a lot of people don't use that or implement all of the things that are recommended in the NIST cybersecurity framework. So flash forward now to zero trust. I do believe that the zero trust framework is black and white. You can see it. You can you know what you need to do. You've been told you have the keys to the kingdom. You just have to, build the castle. So I don't believe that people are going to just adopt it because it's the right thing to do, or even because we know that it's going to protect their organization. NIST still isn't a regulatory standard. It is a recommendation. It is not a requirement. So I think that we're probably going to follow down that path as well from the legal and regulatory space. I don't think that zero trust will become a requirement. It is more of a suggestion at this point. Hopefully that'll change in the future. But I think when it comes to organizations adopting zero trust, it's going to be on an as needed basis. If they succumb to a devastating cyber event, they're going to look at ways to improve their posture, or they're going to get scrutiny, from large organizations, the board of directors, from small organizations, from their customers, protect their data. So I think it's we're gonna have to do another wait and see approach, but I don't think it's going to become something that people adopt out of the goodness of their hearts. I think it's going to be on an as needed basis.
I think we have enough requirements between HIPAA, PCI, GDPR, CCPA, and people who are gonna just care for that, they're gonna continue doing that. And people who really care about the tactical program or tactical security and want to do better security. I'm not saying compliance is not a good security. It's a valid way of having organization get a stamp from a third party attestation perspective. But at the end of the day, we also need to do more. And zero trust framework, CSF, NIST CSF, it gives you that. It gives you a little bit more, one step down from there that you can actually go implement, touch and feel and test it, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
as we are parting away from this podcast, and one of the things that I'm hearing from our industry and our practitioners that a lot of time they want to embark this journey. They want to start this journey. The culture of the organization is not ready. Because it's not something that you can just turn on the knob in IT and off you go zero trust. It's a cultural shift, mind shift in an organization that you have to not only educate them, it's also that why we do, how we do things. Sometimes it can be a level of challenge that you're adding a little bit more layers to get to their what they're used to or accustomed to. Now they have to relearn. And maybe some of those things are streamlined, can be streamlined using good technology vendors and stuff. But ultimately, it's a mind shift from what we used to know how to access internet, how to access my applications, how I can just, why can't I just log in and leave it logged in for 90 days? What do you mean? Like, why do you want me to log in every time I want to access my ERP? It does not make sense. It's so that sort of, objections, complaints. We also hear practitioners say that, hey, I am sailing against the wind of my organization because this is something new. Non-IT, non-security people just don't get it. They're like, we sure, here comes the security and you turn and disrupt my day job. So any advice, anything that you have seen that worked for organizations, for people that they can use and maybe even bite size, they can start with their journey. Anything you wanna share with our audience?
So I just think that, embracing it, most of the cybersecurity professionals are frustrated with the rest of the organization whenever they don't, they're not falling in line. I know a major complaint that I've heard is especially, and if you're an executive and you're watching this, keep this in mind, because a lot of executives feel that they should be, opted out of these zero trust rules, that they should be trusted. They're of a level in the organization that they don't need to be authenticated, that they're not going to cause a problem. So they get, it seems like executives sometimes get a little bit out of shape about adding these zero trust principles because it can hinder their day job. So I think that, as cybersecurity professionals, we need to have patience and really go in and explain why we're going on this journey. And then we have to, anyone who's not a cybersecurity professional, you have to, just turning on the news, you'll see again, this has been going on, the tides have been changing. But, since the pandemic really began and up until now, cybersecurity attacks are on the rise. There's cyber warfare now. So every organization, whether you are a cybersecurity professional or, you just are doing your day job and you turn on the news, everyone still knows that these cyber attacks are going on. So I think we just have to, as organizations, as any professional who uses a laptop or remotely works, you have to just embrace it, embrace the zero trust journey. So that's really my advice on all those thoughts.
Get executive sponsorship. That's the best piece of advice. Actually, someone gave me about 2 decades ago when I started doing ethical hacking. They said just before you actually hack the organization, get the highest level of approval that you can get from the organization. I think it seems applicable here as well. So with that, we want to thank you, Erin, and our listeners to this podcast. We are going to do this monthly, and we're going to be inviting our diverse panelists and the people who have seen, heard, done some sort of zero trust journey, and just share what their thoughts are. So if you have any comments, any questions, any inquiries, please put in the comments. Reach out to us. We really appreciate always hearing from you, our listeners. Erin, once again, thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for having me.